Welcome everyone to the battle between Domaraju Gukesh and Fabiano Caruana. A very interesting and important clash here between two world-class players in their first Blitz game of the tournament. Gukesh had managed to beat Fabi. Will he manage to do that again, or will Fabi score a win? This is a very important one for Gukesh, as this win here could maybe help him to finish second in the tournament. The clock has started. Gukesh opens with e4. We have the Sicilian on the board. Knight comes out to c6 and Gukesh plays the Rosolimo. e6 variation, quickly castles it out. Knight goes to e7. Rook e1 played and h6. A waiting move here by Fabi, trying to throw Gukesh off balance. c3, trying to play in the center with d4. An immediate question to the bishop. The bishop comes back to f1 and now pawn pushes forward to d5. Should Gukesh take on d5? Should he push e5? Many options here. He takes, knight takes d5 and now d4 played right in the center. Knight goes back to f6 and maybe bishop e3 or even taking the pawn. Not so silly. Trading, and you can see, like, if you take here, the structure that we would reach after something like this is white would have 3 pawns versus black's 2. Oh, by the way, bishop e3 played and Fabi goes back instantly attacking the bishop here. Now Gukesh can go back with his bishop to d2. He comes back bishop c1. Maybe a small draw for if Fabi goes back to f6. I'm not so sure. Maybe Gukesh would change his move, but Fabi says, I'm not interested. He goes bishop e7. And now Gukesh can actually chop on c5, which he does, bishop c5, and push the pawn to c4. The knight has to move. And now we can take the queen on d8. He takes it. Queen takes queen, king takes. Very natural for Fabi, because he realizes that his king can go to e7 where it will be quite well placed. But you know, like, for example, a move like knight a4 and suddenly, like, if bishop a7, b3, the bishop is coming out from a3, you feel a bit worried there. So you want to keep this square perhaps for the bishop to go back and put your king on c7, but then on c7 there's bishop f4 check. So a little bit of congestion there. He goes bishop d7. And now maybe bishop f4, he plays it. This is a beautiful diagonal that Gukesh has. And in spite of the queens being traded, this position is greatly uncomfortable for Fabiano. Not so sure how he will continue here. I think g5 makes a lot of sense. He pushes g5. It does weaken the dark squares a bit, but for now e5 is covered by the knight. So he must go back bishop g3. Gukesh thinking for a bit here. And rightly so, because there is also, like, after you go bishop g3, knight h5 is a nice move, trying to get rid of this bishop. So yes, he goes back bishop g3 nonetheless. And he's like, Fabi, take it. And I think Fabiano must play knight h5, because this bishop cannot survive. If it survives, then it will create a lot of problems, especially on this d6 square, which is particularly weak. By the way, we have had a new design of the chessboard for this one. Hope you like it. We'll revert to the old one pretty soon. He goes knight h5, plays it. A good move here. And Fabi, you can bank on him to find the good moves in a position. And if you are able to get rid of this bishop, then black can breathe easy on the dark squares with king e7 and stuff. Gukesh thinking a bit. He has 3 minutes, roughly 3 minutes on the clock. Fabi has 3 minutes, 53 seconds. I guess Gukesh is wondering if he can go knight e4 to attack the bishop on c5. Could he ignore just this attack on the bishop on g3 and just bring his rook into the center of the board with rook d1? Many options here for Gukesh. He goes bishop e5, attacking the rook. And I think you must take this. I think taking the bishop makes a lot of sense. You can also play f6, and then when the bishop perhaps goes back, he goes knight e5 anyway. Knight takes, and now this is hanging on e8, on f7. So he goes bishop e8, which is a good move. You could also have played king e7, which was a fine move, but bishop e8 works. Knight e4, now he's attacking the bishop, looking at this square. Maybe bishop b4, getting a tempo here. But Fabi is thinking, he goes back bishop e7, pawn to c5, creating a square for your knight on d6. And king c7 makes a lot of sense now. Slowly, if black is able to push through the knights away with f6, f5, then it will be like free-flowing position for black. King comes to c7, rook a d1 for Gukesh. I guess that seems like a logical move here. Gukesh thinking hard. Is there any other move? Also some move like knight c4 with the idea of knight d6 or knight b6. Not so silly. And you also have this question. Do you want to play this rook or this rook? Because sometimes you want to keep your rook on c1 in case things open up and you can use the c file. He goes rook e d1. Nice one there. And now Caruana can start trading. I think more the pieces that come off the board, the better it is for him. Because he's slightly behind in development. His rooks are not playing in the game. So rook d8 I like a lot. But he goes f6. Gukesh is like, I really wanted to go to that square anyway. Bishop c6 played, attacking the knight here. Knight jumps into d6. Now you can see there's some pressure on the f7 point. He goes rook d8 and b4 played. Now rook f8, a simple move, because look at this. If you were to play knight f7, I would trade on d1 so you don't get the exchange. But b4 cements it, and I guess rook f8 makes a lot of sense. You can also go back knight g7. You can also come forward knight f4. Few options here. Caruana has 2 minutes 46 seconds. Gukesh has 2:02. 2 minutes 2 seconds. Gukesh has managed to keep the pressure going, and one idea could very well be to start pushing a4 here and try to get b5 in, and that would be something quite tremendous. But bishop a4 stopping this idea, but it's a mistake because now white has a very strong move. Let's see Gukesh if he finds it. Rook e1. Why is this strong? Because remember, when you were giving a fork, the black was trading here. Now e6 is hanging, and also a fork is threatened on f7. So it's like a double attack. Fabi comes back and defends, but knight f7, and Caruana, you can see his face there. He had missed it. He's so unhappy. Gukesh chops off the rook. Rook takes d8. Now exchange up. Knight jumps to b6. And just like that, Fabiano has reached a very, very difficult position for himself. And yeah, it all happened because of this one careless move where he moved his bishop to a4, thinking that he was attacking the rook, stopping a4. But rook e1, a nice spot by Gukesh, attacking e6, and knight f7 became possible. Is there any fight still left here? Fabi going down on time as well. I don't think he'll be able to save this position. He goes bishop e8. And sometimes converting certain positions not easy. One idea could be the fact that you are ahead in material, just trade pieces. Rook d1 makes so much sense. He goes bishop c4, attacking the pawn on e6. If e5, it weakens the d5 square, so you have knight d5 check. And already like something like king d7 trying to protect here is met with rook a d1. Ooh, catastrophe there. So e5, not a pleasant move. Also move like bishop f7. That looks so bad. Rook a d1, white is better. So Caruana has to try and get some counterplay going. But how exactly should he do that? He goes rook d4. Gukesh chops off bishop c6 played. Now the b4 pawn is hanging a bit. Earlier you couldn't take because of check and you would have lost the rook. So bd5 played. Bishop d8 because the rook was attacking the bishop. And Gukesh brings the rook into the game. The question is, can you take on d? Yeah, he takes. Knight f5 is played. And now bishop c6, king c6. It's all over. He goes rook e6 check. King comes to b5. Takes. And now b4 is hanging. But he plays a double attack. Knight jumps back. Knight jumps in to defend the b4 pawn. All nicely done. f5. And now rook d7 attacking the b7 pawn. King c4 coming in here to attack. a3 played. A calm move. a5. And he gives a check. The king goes back to b5 and Gukesh chops off the pawn. King a4. b5. Knight jumps in. Rook attacks both the pieces again. And he tries to defend it. But the b pawn is super strong. Queening here. And Gukesh has managed to score a smooth win here. A fantastic game there by Gukesh. But also very nicely finished towards the end by finding these amazing moves. Bishop a4, rook e1 and so on. So good win, and with this Gukesh retains his chances of finishing second at this tournament.